Well, a very good evening. Thank you for choosing GHOne TV. Of course, it's a Fugu Wednesday, and we're bringing you all the top stories that you're looking forward to tonight. Be my guest. Stay with us throughout the 1 hour as we share all the details of local stories with you. Don't you forget that we'll bring you some business stories. We'll refresh you with some entertainment news, and then we'll cross over and get you some sports updates with some international news as well. But before we give you all the details, let's look at some of the top stories that we have for you this evening. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, health facilities across the country directed to tighten security after baby theft at Mamprobi Polyclinic in Accra prompts urgent action from the Social Protection Minister who has vowed zero tolerance against such dastardly acts.
Expects that for hospitals and health facilities, we enforce strict identification protocols for staff and for visitors, ensure babies are released only after proper verification.
We'll bring you more stories tonight as Minister for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nate George, reveals diplomatic efforts are underway to trigger processes for the prosecution in absentia of Russian pickup artists for sharing explicit videos of himself and some female Ghanaian citizens without their consent.
CID is working with us to escalate this to Interpol to issue an international arrest warrant for the gentleman.
We'll bring you more local stories tonight as government doubles down on the war against illegal mining. The lands minister is cautioning locals to desist from fronting for foreign nationals in Ghana's multi-billion-dollar mining industry.
Practice where foreign companies hide behind Ghanaian names, using our people as mere marks to satisfy regulatory requirements, while gaining all the control and the benefit, is a theft of opportunity and a betrayal of everything this summit stands for.
On the business front tonight, the produce buying company, called them PBC, has announced the resumption of operations at all cocoa purchasing centers nationwide in a move aimed at reclaiming its role in cocoa purchasing and support farmers. And on the international front, renewed fighting in South Sudan has left hospitals overwhelmed with medical and well, tonight, rather on a sad note, the family of Constance Nyako, popularly known in Kofodia as Nanaya, has confirmed her death following last Saturday's deadly terrorist attack in northern Burkina Faso. Well, Yaya, a well-known tomato trader in Kofodia, was amongst the group of Ghanaian traders attacked by suspected Islamist insurgents. Yaya was allegedly shot multiple times and burnt to ashes while hiding in their truck. There's more in the following report.
According to the family, Yaya's injured sister, Eura Efia, who was airlifted alongside another survivor to 37 military hospital in Accra on Tuesday night, recounted the horrifying ordeal. She confirmed that she, Yaya, and their driver attempted to hide inside their truck when the attackers struck. However, the gunmen reportedly fired multiple times into the vehicle before setting it ablaze. The injured sister managed to escape despite sustaining gunshot wounds and severe burns. Yaya, however, was said to have been burnt beyond recognition.
In the second one, so picture by na is a sister at the hospital. And a chin na ashishi. It's here the new Bissasa na Minya Yaya so over him. No Kurana a womb. Inti kopem say me sister according to me sister nkasa etimi kasa e no che say
sister no wo
37 say sia me kasa a friend na refua ono no ka say ya ahye wa hye sen they say nkrofo no ba omoso attack no omo dwane ko share car ni because of some ya ho omo kita sika omo ko fa ni menti no na also omo pe bi etete nti mema wo ho de omo kun omo nyina na ka ma no nti ono so ne driver no ne minister no mo share car ni na nkrofo no ka so mo mpie na omo so driver no so mie na omo fire driver no wo car ni ti no na ma etu e ka ya e bi ka minister no na car na omo di ja ne tu mu no na ma minister ono enwuye ni ntino ode ahopepre ebo glass na refu ano ebo glass ni pie to pie na echi ni na hyehye.
Kofi, a brother to Yaya and a Refia, both victims of the attack, said the family is devastated by confirmation of her passing. On Wednesday, the family house in Kofredia's Rodai was flooded with sympathizers following confirmation of her death. GHOne, mother of the deceased trader, described her daughter as the family breadwinner and expressed deep sorrow over the loss.
Ono ne mamienu sese nkwala no kura ho na be hwe me madwuma me ye me pay na enso ba ko school fees tia enso ni school fees so ba ko school fees tia pono maka say ne busumi wa me de ba ko su me de ba koma ba ko atua ba ko de enso ba ko de oh nkofo de o ma hayen yo nkofo no ma hayen o ma habusiane papa
So far, about 8 Ghanaian traders, drivers and laborers are reported to have died in the attack. Reports indicate that the terrorists separated men from women before opening fire on the group. Out of 18 traders involved, 7 were killed instantly. 3 men and a woman sustained injuries. 7 other women escaped unhurt. The deceased were buried in Burkina Faso on Monday, while the surviving female traders remain hospitalized at the 37 military hospital. Others are also en route through the Burkina Faso and Ghana border. For GHOne TV and Star FM, Kweku Kofredia.
May the soul of Yaya and all the others who lost their lives rest in perfect peace. Allow me to stay on the story some more as ranking member of Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament has blamed security agencies for critical operational lapses that allegedly contributed to the recent terrorist attack in Titao, northern Burkina Faso, which claimed the lives of civilians, including Ghanaian traders. We're speaking to Star News Reverend GHOne Intim-Fojo, called for cross-border security operations to protect Ghanaians engaged in transnational trade.
Mechanisms for safe passage as you issue travel advisory crossing high-risk areas, hot zones, and hotspots. You must also issue a bilateral arrangement that will ensure citizens coming from Ghana for every legitimate purpose in Burkina are escorted, offered protection, and are guaranteed their safety. That is when we know that the security of our citizens means something to this government. But in all of this, the Minister for Defense, who ought to be playing the frontline role, coordinating role, is not appointed. So we don't have a substantive Minister for Defense. We only have a Minister for Finance with additional responsibility to act a plethora of financial issues. Cool life matters are rising. So now we are in security crisis. There's leadership crisis because with all the defense intelligence gathered in that area with terrorism activity, now we know that it is traveling down south. This is the time we need to tighten every mechanism in the sub-regional and bilateral arrangement to contain these threats.
We'll still stay on the Burkina Faso incident, and here former Defense Minister Dominic Nitewu has called the recent attack on Ghanaian traders in Burkina Faso a targeted incident. While speaking to Parliament's correspondent Ibrahim Al-Hassan, the Bimbala MP noted that previous attacks on Ghanaians failed, suggesting the current strike is unusual, while he attributed the attack to the close ties between the Mahama administration and the Traore-led military regime in Burkina Faso. Faso. Well, Niti will also question why President John Dramani Mahama is yet to appoint a substantive defense minister, urging that such a minister should have led a strong delegation to Burkina Faso by now.
Yes, it came to me as a surprise because whoever the attackers were, they knew these were Ghanaians because they were traveling on a car that was Ghanaian registered, and so they knew this was Ghanaian. That car had also always been going to Burkina, so everybody along that route would have known the car. And so for them to attack that particular car means that it was deliberate. But I think government has to send a team to Burkina ASAP. I would have expected the Minister for Defense to have been on the aircraft with his team to go and make sure that they get the facts right and come and brief us. It's coming to me as a surprise because this is not the first time the Ghanaian traders have encountered terrorists, but every time they choose not to attack Ghanaians. And for them to attack Ghanaians at this time, I think that there should be more to it.
You think this is targeted?
I think it's targeted.
All right, so away from the Burkina Faso insurgency, let's look at other matters. And here, the Minister for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nete George, has revealed that diplomatic efforts are underway to trigger processes to prosecute the Russian national involved in sharing explicit videos of himself and some female Ghanaian citizens in absentia.
The accused, identified as Vyacheslav Trahova, allegedly used AI-enabled glasses to record the encounters without the women's knowledge and further shared them on various social media platforms through monetization. The Ghanaian government is working with Russian authorities to prosecute the suspect under the country's Cybersecurity Act 2020, which carries penalties of up to 25 years in prison for publishing explicit images without consent.
A number of the ladies have formally filed complaints that are being processed by the CID, and CID is working with us to escalate this to Interpol to issue an international arrest warrant for the gentleman. The two ministries know who the individual is. In our meeting with the ambassador, his identity was established. We have his passport, which we'll be sharing with the media, his Russian passport. His first name is Vladislav, and his last name is Lyulkov.
Sam George noted that since Ghana and Russia have no extradition treaty, the suspect will be prosecuted in absentia, as efforts are far advanced through Interpol to put him on red alert. The minister cautioned the Ghanaian public about sharing the images of the victims, emphasizing its illegality.
There's currently no extradition treaty between Ghana and the Russian Federation. He indicated that the alleged conduct of the gentleman also constitutes a criminal offense under Russian law and assured us of continued diplomatic engagement. Use the opportunity to caution the public: do not share, download, circulate, or monetize the illegal content. Doing so constitutes a criminal offense and makes you liable for prosecution under Act 1038.
For her part, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namumulati, indicated that some of the victims have contacted her ministry and urged others to follow suit for psychological support.
His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who has mandated us to take charge of this issue. So reach out to us and then we'll support you. If the public knows of anyone, you can also reach out to us. We also have toll-free numbers you can call, and then we can pick it up from there. That is 0800 800 800, 0800 900 900, and then 0800 111 222.
Minister Sam George used the occasion to assure all victims of the unfortunate incident of the government's commitment to seeking justice to maintain the dignity of all.
All right, so if you have any information on this Russian who perpetuated this dastardly act, please kindly help the security apparatus bring him to face the full rigors of the law. But definitely, the Minister for Communications mentioned that his identity has been received and they are working to bring him out. Want to get on the phone lines for a conversation with a cybersecurity expert, that's Dr. Kofi Annan. Dr. Kofi Annan, thank you very much for your time tonight. So yes, the minister clearly mentions that do not share this information, do not download it if you have it. These acts also are criminal. Now, how damaging or incriminating can the sharing of explicit content be, particularly without the consent of the other partner? Well, Dr. Kofi Annan, I can't hear you. If you can hear me.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Kofi Annan, I can hear you loud and clear now. I trust you are doing well. So the Minister for Communications have been speaking, and he's talked about even the ordinary citizen. Do not download this information, this explicit content. Do not share it. It could also be criminal. I'm trying to find out how incriminating or how damaging sharing of such contents can be for any individual.
Yes, thank you for the call. And as the minister said, yes, it is in our Cybersecurity Act, but we must also be pragmatic and look at the implementation of some of these things in reality, especially when it comes into the situation where that content has gone so viral to the extent that if you want to trace whoever has been involved in sharing it or promoting its spread, it will be a difficult task. Now, in as much as whoever promotes the sharing of such content commits a crime, it is easy to deal with such situations where you track to the first, second, third, or fourth person. But in this instance, that it is going so viral to the extent that the people involved in sharing it has an entangled web. It becomes a difficult task for the Cybersecurity Authority and the security agency involved to now track every individual who has been involved in promoting the spread. So, yes, it is in our law. It is criminal to share such content. But in this case, a lot of people have been involved and it becomes difficult. If we want to zero it in to the corporate himself and maybe the first 4 or up to the 10th person who promoted a sharing, then that is possible. But aside that, the number of people who are being involved now in this matter, it becomes difficult to deal with it security-wise. Yes.
Dr. Annan, really worrying and very troubling, especially with the volumes that we've seen or magnitude of the sharing of this content. But tell me, this isn't the first time an incident like this has occurred. What steps should the government take to prevent it from ever happening again?
That will involve a lot of work, a lot of protocol engagement and diplomatic engagement, a lot of, let me say, okay, in this case, as a country, for us to be firm on our internet space by engaging these tech giants and giving them certain guidelines as to the kind of content they should project within the Ghanaian space when it comes to some of these things. Now, although the Facebook is global, as a country, you can also, engage them like China did, and they have their own space and that. And maybe if you look at TikTok going to US, America had to, now Trump engaged and said that if TikTok is coming to America, it has to be owned by Americans, or it has to be a shared listen. And so TikTok in America is not fully owned by China or Chinese. It is owned by Americans work with Chinese. So it is a matter of how strong you are when it comes to this game. And as Ghana, as a developing country, our strength as against these tech giants is not much. So we only will have to play it safe by trying to put in certain technical protocols with the telcos and the internet service providers. But the issue has to do with algorithms that will pull this content down. And if we are determined to do that, then we will commit, we will invest into that and develop algorithms that will hash such content, and the moment it sees it, it will swallow it up. The moment it sees it, it swallows it up. Now, there's an organization that has been mandated with the resources by the tech giants themselves in UK. It's called IWF, Internet Watch Foundation. Now, this organization has the authority from these tech giants, that is Facebook and the like, and they have complex algorithms that pull such content down. And even
Doctor,
if you have the content on your phone and you still post it there, the algorithm will swallow it up. So it is a bit complicated, but it is doable. We need to just be determined. Of course, it requires resources. We will need to, but technical expertise, we have them. We may need to build capacity to be able to, do some of these things. But as far as I'm concerned, if we want to go that target, we will need to do a lot of protocol engagement.
Absolutely.
Because we are a member of the Budapest Convention. We have succeeded to it, the Malabo, and so it gives us a leverage.
All right,
so
Dr.
Kofi
Kofi
a leverage that we can do that.
Dr. Kofi Annan, thank you very much for your time. I had to rush this because of time. We're taking a break at this moment. We're back shortly with some more local stories to stay. All right, so we're grateful that you're still with us here on GHOne TV. If you're just joining us, my name is Kweku Temeng. We'll still have some more local stories for you. And here it was a mother's worst nightmare as 4-day-old baby vanished from the hospital ward. But an atmosphere of relief laced with cheers and applause filled the Mamprobi Polyclinic after the stolen baby was safely reunited with his parents. Now, the suspect remains in custody at the Dansoman Police Station, assisting with ongoing investigations. My colleague Evelyn Araba Edu was at the Mamprobi Polyclinic when the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Na Momo Late, assured the public that measures will be taken to ensure this never reoccurs.
This was the scene at exactly 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, February 18, when our news team arrived at the Mamprobi Polyclinic. Chaotic, emotional, tightly secured. A baby boy born on Saturday, February 14, Valentine's Day, and allegedly stolen shortly after birth, had finally been returned to his family. What had begun as a moment of joy for Mohammed Ajiman and his wife quickly spiraled into every parent's worst nightmare. Police were immediately called to the facility as the search for the missing newborn intensified. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection also intervened. Speaking to our news team, the baby's father recounted his ordeal, describing long hours filled with fear, confusion and disbelief as the family waited for answers.
Since the thing happened, right, I haven't even brushed my teeth that my brother came and picked me up. We were here since morning. Then died. Oban pontimin da oda me so sa menene kasa o ontun be hunu minyam yam som no je adosuro ana onto no boase ene nsa nyama nyama no won beti ano paye me da fiti endo information information 3 am say woman no obi nimu no aboso kan sa na oye ne nyama.
But even with their baby back in their arms, he says the trauma remains, especially for his wife, who delivered through a cesarean section, and she's still emotionally shaking.
Now the say obenya emi ba share few born and share traumatized no say membeli kakra what I said.
Police say the suspect was arrested shortly after investigations began and remains in custody, assisting with further inquiries. The gender minister visited the facility, confirming the baby had been found and officially returned to the mother. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Namomolati, assured the public that a thorough investigation will be conducted and that decisive action will be taken to help rid the country of baby thefts. She also presented an undisclosed sum of money and assorted items to the family, adding that the president has taken a personal interest in the case and will cover the full cost of the mother's delivery.
Our intention is to work with the health workers to make sure that the joy God has brought us by finding the baby will not be cut short. So we're going to do everything as the government and then the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection to ensure that baby and mother are well and stay well for all of us to be happy.
Meanwhile, tensions flared outside the facility. At one point, a civilian was captured slapping a police officer, triggering a near confrontation. Police quickly restored order and issued a stern warning to the public.
Reporting the baby, the mother, and they are in the safe hand. The suspect is in police custody. If you fool here, we will take you on.
Amid the chaos, some members of the public angrily confronted health workers, with a few even pouring libation on the premises. A Valentine's Day birth that nearly became a lifelong tragedy. Today, baby Kwame Valentine is back in his mother's arms, yet the emotional scars remain. But the big question remains, how did this happen? Well, investigations still continue. Evelyn Araba Edu, reporting for GHOne News and Star FM.
Well, big relief that Kwame Valentine is reunited with the parents. I want to stay on the story some more because the Ghana Police Service has directed health facilities across the country to tighten security following an alleged baby theft at Mamprobi Polyclinic here in Accra. Latifa Salifu, the prime suspect, now sits behind police cell gates facing questions over the crime.
The 33-year-old female suspect was arrested by the Dansoman Divisional Police Command in connection with the stealing of a baby boy from the Mamprobi Hospital in Accra. Police say the baby's mother, Precious Ankoma, delivered safely on February 14, 2026. 3 days later, an unidentified woman disguised in a nurse's uniform took the newborn under the pretext of administering medication and disappeared. An alarm was raised. Officers visited the hospital, took statements, reviewed intelligence, and launched a manhunt. Police tracked down the suspect to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where she was found with a baby believed to be the missing child. She claimed she had delivered at the facility and was discharged due to lack of beds, a claim police investigations found to be false, as no hospital record supported it. The baby boy has since been positively identified by his mother through a birthmark and reunited with her before being returned to hospital care.
The suspect is currently in police custody, whilst arrangements are underway to place the baby under hospital care for safekeeping, further investigations, and medical attention.
The police have praised the vigilance of the public and urged health facilities and families to remain alert.
We expect that for hospitals and health facilities, we enforce strict identification protocols for staff and for visitors, ensure babies are released only after proper verification, install and monitor CCTV in maternity wards and other wards.
Investigations remain ongoing, and police say further updates will be communicated as facts are established.
All right, so tonight you can join us with your concerns on this particular story, baby theft at Mamprobi Polyclinic. Well, baby Valentine has been reunited with the parent, but we definitely would want to have a conversation on the back of this. Let's speak to a public health analyst, Samuel Arthur, for more on this. Samuel Arthur, thank you very much for joining us. So let me find out from you. It's great news that baby has been found, but who should be held accountable for this mishap at the facility?
Yeah, Kweku, good evening, and thank you to your service. I'm so happy. I can't actually express with words the excitement actually when I heard the news that the baby had been reunited with the mother and the baby was fine. It's good news. So we all have gone through quite some trauma, because even though he's not our child, you can begin to think about what the parent is going through. And if you put yourself in the parent's shoes, I guess it's something that nobody wants to go through. We are happy for this family, and we are happy for the little child. But it's not strange that someone can walk into a world where we have newly born and their parents there, and someone walks in and introduces herself as a nurse and just pick a baby out and walk through all that way and go out, and nobody is able to question. It's obvious that there's some kind of security lab, some negligence within that particular space, because I know for some of the works, it's clearly written out of bounds or they know the times that people can come in to visit inpatients and that. So we want to ask what the standard operating SOP, the standard operating procedures are, how people visit the newly born coming to see their families and that. And what is the routine with the nurses once the baby is born? Is it that they can come anytime and come and take your baby and go? So there are two sides of it. I guess also the parent, the child, the mother, if the mother also was quite informed, and we keep talking about the patient charter, where patients need to understand what their responsibilities and their rights are. I'm sure if she knew that, she may have questioned her nurse. Who are you? Where are you from? I haven't seen you since I came in here. Somehow the mother also, gave the baby out just because the nurse also said she's a nurse around. Now, who then would know she's a nurse or not? But for the nurses and people who work there, so who were the people around when this woman walked in? Nobody questioned her and she managed to take a child out. For me, if there are any people who are supposed to be within that ward, probably the ward, whoever is in charge, should be suspended immediately. And I'm not saying that we should do that to just punish her, but it should serve as a deterrent, where all of us, people who are given positions, people, because I know the various wards and the various departments, they have in charges. They have people who are in charge. So someone surely is in charge where the ward that child was taken away. That person for now should be answering questions. That person should be suspended. And then it becomes a cue. So other people will know that. And all of us and people within the hospital space will become conscious. Now, Kweku, we are happy this boy has been returned. But if we had the case where he was returned and probably a part of his body was dismembered, what then would we do? So we are happy though, but I guess we need to deal with the losses. Someone has to pay. Someone has to be punished. A couple of days ago, some clinicians also neglected a patient and he had to die in an ambulance. I'm sure nobody has been held responsible. And as long as nobody is held responsible, we'll continue to hear these issues. I feel so sad about this development.
Samuel Alpha, thank you very much. I'm sure your point is well made and authorities will take note. Well, that will close the story on baby Kwame Valentine. He's been found reunited with the parents. Up next, we're bringing you Insight. Well, let's do some stories on Insight, and here the Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Bonny has determined that there is no prima facie case to warrant further investigations into the petitions seeking the removal of the Electoral Commissioner, her deputies, and the Special Prosecutor. Well, according to the statement issued by the Presidency on Wednesday, February 18, 2026, President John Dramani Mahama referred 7 petitions calling for the removal of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and her deputies, as well as 3 separate petitions seeking the removal of the Special Prosecutor to the Chief Justice for a determination. The referral was made in accordance with Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 15 of the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act to ascertain whether the petitions disclosed a prima facie case. Well, the petitions were referred to the Chief Justice on November 25, 2025. After reviewing the petitions, the Chief Justice determined that no prima facie case existed to justify further investigation or the establishment of a formal inquiry committee. Well, this constitutional threshold must be met before a 5-member tribunal can be constituted to investigate allegations of stated misbehavior, incompetence, or incapacity. Well, the only grounds on which such office holders can be removed. All right, so you've heard from the presidency tonight. We would also want you to make your voice heard on this particular story, the EC chair, the deputies, and also the special prosecutor. Well, Chief Justice has spoken, but we want to stay on the subject some more. We have been joined by the chairperson of the African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption, Adam Senanu. Thank you very much, Mr. Senanu, for joining us. Let me find out from you, as an anti-graft campaigner, who has long believed the OSP should be kept. What's your immediate response to the Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni's decision to dismiss the petitions against Mr. Kisié Jaben?
Well, on one hand, a sigh of relief. On the other hand, I still think we need to do some work looking at the threshold of evidence or information that triggers these processes. Otherwise, it will be repeated again in the future.
So let me come to the OSP. For the OSP, what should he consider as the OSP? This an olive branch or just another battle with opponents won?
I don't know whether he will see it as a battle won. For some of us in the good governance space, our concern has been that the heads of these institutions are likely to spend a lot of their time just trying to fend off all these distractions. What it means is that they cannot focus because there's one accusation or another against them, which will prevent them from being very effective at the tasks assigned to them. So I'm quite sure he'll be also relieved that, okay, somebody else has, a neutral objective entity has seen that this does not have merit. But the likelihood that these kinds of accusations will continue may not necessarily make him feel comfortable.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to chip in a quick one, even though they might not be on the lines of an anti-graft, but the EC chair and the deputies also.
Well, in general, I mean, I think many of us were concerned about the trajectory we seem to be taking. Previously, it was the EC, the previous EC, then it became the Chief Justice, and then it was more EC, OSP. That does not augur well for the good governance in the country. And so it's good that we don't seem to have suddenly upheavals in all these key independent institutions of state. And that is why we are saying there will be the need to review the threshold of evidence that leads to triggering these processes. Otherwise, you're going to continuously have situations where anybody can come up with any form of allegation, and then the officers, so-called, may then need to now sit down, begin to come up with defense, get lawyers. That does not work too well for all of us.
All right, so Adam Senanu, we could say a big thank you to you for joining us on this subject, speaking to the issues, and I'm sure your point is very much clearly made. We would quickly be looking at some other updates very shortly, but for now, the Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni has spoken and says there is no prima facie case against the OSP and also against the EC chair and their deputies. Tonight, we would want you to join us on our social media platforms and then speak to some of these issues. What do you really think? Is that a way to go? And if you have some concerns about the pronouncements of the Chief Justice, you could also share with us tonight. Okay, so that's about insight for us tonight. Up next, we're bringing you the latest from our world of business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
All right, so let's do business at this moment. And here, the produce buying company, called them PBC, says all its cocoa purchasing centers across the country have commenced full operations with immediate effect. Well, the announcement follows government's decision to revive the company as part of sweeping reforms in the cocoa industry aimed at restoring efficiency and improving competitiveness. While addressing a press conference, the managing director of PBC, Sedu Yanyi, said the company is repositioning itself to reclaim its role in cocoa purchasing and support cocoa farmers nationwide.
All PBC cocoa purchasing centers are now fully operational to transact business effective immediately. All PBC field staffs are reminded to remain at post to facilitate a seamless collection of cocoa from farmers in the depots for certification and payment processing. Any buyer or individual occupying PBC's accredited depot or shed without the express approval of management are directed to vacate effective immediately. Together with farmers, government, financial institutions, we will build PBC to its enviable position.
Well, away from PBC, let's look at other stories. And here, trading activities have taken over the newly constructed bus stop at SCC Junction on the Castle stretch, raising road safety concerns. While traders have occupied the facility, forcing passengers into the road, while the assembly remains silent. Well, Genevieve Odro has more in the following report.
The newly built bus stop at SCC Junction was intended to bring order to public transport activities on the busy Kaswa Highway. But weeks after its completion, the area has turned into a bustling marketplace. Traders have mounted makeshift stalls under and around the bus stop structure, selling food items, phone accessories, and other goods. Commuters say the encroachment is narrowing the road shoulder and obstructing visibility.
Bus stop on very, very bad. Because a bit Indomie, a bit Chibare, a bit Chiton Bagua, and other day. Because a bit Numbria, a bit busy. See, can be mess restaurant cabin, and may be before, send a bus stop like Obi Peka and Nasibia. If I can't buy it now, I can say.
Some of the traders say they were operating at the spot long before the bus stop was constructed. Rather than eviction, they would prefer a relocation to a destination space for them to continue their work.
Bus stop almost 7 years ago. Our house on bus stop. Any baby I know idea. I think remember say almost more family. Yes, I say any baby company for my agent says they do baby no baby do how my fine. Yeah, baby swarts na ya to ade na nya ni baby. Ya go school ye na adwuma ye. Eno na de he nua no. Ya ma me ya busuafo. Nti yes rom say nya papa ya say best na say. So na baby my. That's the best na. You know any problem.
Efforts to speak to officials of the assembly on whether the traders have been granted approval or whether the decongestion exercise will be carried out proved unsuccessful.
All right, so that's about all we have for you in business tonight. We come back with some sports updates. Do stay.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Friday, 20th February, 7 p.m. till
Clear that retirement is not in his radar anytime soon. Well, the experienced forward says his body is responding positively to the demands of the game, insisting that each match only makes him stronger, fitter and better rather than slowing him down.
When I was in Ghana, I was quite busy there with some personal stuff.
For you in sports tonight, we come up shortly with some entertainment and international news for you. All right, so before GHOne, some stories from the presidency. President John Dramani Mahama has unveiled an ambitious blueprint to deepen local participation in Ghana's multi-billion-dollar mining industry. Well, despite earning nearly $6.6 billion in export revenue in year 2023, he says Ghana must transition from being a prolific producer to becoming a competitive industrial powerhouse. Speaking at the Maiden Mining Local Content Summit in the Western region, President John Dramani Mahama stressed that the time has come to shift from raw material exports to finished products, highlighting the role of local participation in a more sustainable economic development. Presidential Affairs correspondent Hanan Adam has more.
For more than a century, mining has shaped Ghana's economy from Obuasi to Takwa, Bibiani to Nangodi, and now the emerging lithium fields of Ewoya. Ghana is Africa's leading gold producer and among the top 6 globally. Yet, much of the high-value activity in advanced engineering, processing, equipment manufacturing, refining, and technical services continue to take place outside the country. Addressing the Maiden Mining Local Content Summit in the Western region, President Mahama says that reality must change.
We've been prolific producers, but we have not yet become full participants in the extractive value chain. This summit is about closing that gap. As we deliberate, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question. What will be the true legacy of Ghana's vast mineral wealth 100 years from now? Will it be recorded only in export statistics and royalty payments? Or it will be remembered as the foundation upon which we build world-class industries, thriving Ghanaian enterprises, and resilient mining communities?
The president further outlined a 5-pillar strategy to reposition Ghana as a full participant in the global extractive value chain while eliminating raw ore exports within the next 5 years, promoting refineries, mineral-based industrial clusters, and downstream processing of bauxite, manganese, and lithium.
We will strengthen institutions such as UMAT and our technical universities. We'll deepen apprenticeship programs in collaboration with the mining industry. We'll prioritize skills in automation and robotics, drone and modern exploration technologies, data analytics, environmental sustainability, and renewable energy integration. We must train not only miners, but also mining technologists, engineers, and innovators.
Meanwhile, Lands Minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa issued a stern warning against Ghanaians fronting for foreign nationals.
It's time for international news. On the international front tonight, fighting in South Sudan has pushed Akokobo Hospital in Jonglei State to the brink, with just one surgeon struggling to treat dozens of gunshot victims as medical supplies run low. Injured civilians say government forces targeted them, while hospital staff report some patients were attacked in their homes or shot at their residence. Well, the conflict stems from long-standing tensions between President Salva Kiir and former Vice President Riek Machar years after South Sudan's independence. Well, Jonglei's information minister has urged civilians to flee active clash zones, noting that injuries in the crossfire are not intentional. The United Nations reports that renewed fighting has displaced around 280,000 people since December, further worsening an already severe humanitarian crisis. All right, so that's about it for tonight's bulletin. But just before I go, do the 2 tonight. Most probably you've done the morning one. It's time to do the 2 before you go to bed tonight. Remember to brush with Pepsodent. With Pepsodent, every smile matters. Enjoy the rest of your evening.